Not by mere ceasing from all earthly deed does one escape the karmic planted seed, nor by renunciation alone, standing all alone, can humankind attain perfection's throne. So it seems that karma yoga is about finding a way to act in the world without becoming entangled in that web of our desires.
Precisely. And in the following verses, Krishna provides further guidance on how to walk this path, how to integrate the principles of karma yoga into our daily lives.
Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, Duty and Self-Realization. All right, I'm Satosha.
And I'm Satoshi. We're hoping that today's session can serve as a very practical guide
For understanding the core tenets of Karma Yoga.
And we will be looking at some
Very beautiful poetry. Yes, and we're going to offer
just some brief explanations as we go.
to help illuminate the text. And of course, we want to be
Very careful and respectful with the pronunciation of Sanskrit.
We are both English natives, so please forgive us if we mispronounce any of the Sanskrit terms.
Yeah. So why don't we turn to the beginning of this section, where we really find Arjuna voicing this very profound doubt.
Right, and that starts in verse 3.1.
Let's hear it.
Arjuna spake with visage all distraught. If wisdom's path by thy great mind is taught to soar beyond the reach of mortal deed, why bid me now, when direst dangers breed, in battles press such awful acts to spawn, O Keshava, ere yet the day be dawn?
So here we find Arjuna in this very conflicted state.
Right.
He understands that this path of knowledge is seen as being superior to action.
Absolutely.
And yet he's being asked by Krishna to engage in this terrible battle. And he perceives that to be inherently wrong.
This is really the crux of his dilemma.
And then he continues in verse 3.2 with,
Thy hallowed words, a tangled mystic maze, my poor perception in confusion sways. One certain path I supplicate thee, show, whereby the highest blessedness I'll know.
So he's looking for this definitive path that will lead him to the ultimate good.
And a path free from doubt.
And now we come to the Lord's response.
The blessed Lord then did his voice outpour. Two paths for men on life's ascending shore were shown by me in ages long since past, O sinless one whose lot in life is cast. For Sankya's Jnana Yoga's radiant light, for yogis Karma Yoga's righteous forceful might.
There are not one, but two
Distinct paths.
distinct paths that have been taught through the ages.
And revealed by him.
Yes, the path of Jnana Yoga and the path of Karma Yoga.
So the path of knowledge for the Sankyas and the path of action for the yogis.
Okay, so now moving forward, Krishna explains,
Why action is in fact necessary. Not by mere stilling of the busy hand doth mortal man scape life's tempestuous strand, nor yet by swift renouncement of all claim to active life shall one attain his aim.
So essentially, Krishna is saying here that liberation, it's not achieved simply by ceasing
All activity.
all outward activity, right?
Right. And nor is it achieved simply by renouncing the very idea of action.
So there's something deeper going on here. And so this leads us then into verse 3.5.
Where he elaborates on that.
Yes, let's hear it.
For lo, no soul a single breath can stay in idleness and turn from life away. By nature's threads they ever are constrained to ceaseless action till their goals attained.
Krishna is pointing out this fundamental truth about our existence.
That no living being can remain truly inactive. Who checks his limbs, lest outward acts betray, yet in his thought doth sensual fancy sway. That foolish man, with semblance false and vain, as hypocrite is judged, in spirit's reign.
So this is fascinating because he's saying that you can't just restrain your outward actions.
If your mind is still consumed by desires.
If you're still thinking about those things, if you're still engaging with them internally,
Right.
then you're really just a hypocrite.
It's a false semblance of control.
Exactly. So then we get this beautiful contrast in verse 3.7.
With the description of a true yogi. But he who holds his senses in control, with governed mind, where righteous truths enroll, and acts with limbs from selfish purpose free, that yogi, Arjuna, doth excel, we see.
The true yogi, who controls their senses through a disciplined mind.
And whose actions are free from attachment.
And who is not seeking personal gain.
So this is really the ideal.
Yeah, this is the true karma yogi.
Thy set duty thou must needs embrace, for action doth attain a nobler place than sluggish sloth. Thy very mortal frame, without its due exertion, fails its aim.
And it's interesting because even our physical well-being
Is dependent on action.
So it's not just about this spiritual growth.
It's about maintaining our existence.
Maintaining our physical existence, fulfilling our purpose in the world. And this leads us into the concept of action as sacrifice.
Save acts that spring from holy sacrifice. This world in karmic bonds doth surely vice. For that alone, O Kunti's noble son, act free from ties till victory is won.
This shift in perspective from self-centered motivation to selfless service, that's at the heart of karma yoga. It transforms action from a source of bondage into a path to liberation. It allows us to act in the world without becoming entangled in the web of our desires and attachments.
That's a really inspiring thought.
It is. It really is. And this idea of dedicating our actions to a higher purpose, it suggests that even mundane tasks can become infused with meaning when we approach them with the right attitude. When we act with a sense of service, our actions become offerings, expressions of gratitude and love, rather than burdens or obligations.
And that brings a sense of joy and fulfillment.
Even to the most challenging tasks. It's a beautiful reminder that we're not isolated individuals just struggling alone in the world. We're part of this vast web of life, and our actions really do have ripple effects, that extend far beyond just our immediate sphere.
And I think the next verse emphasizes the importance of honoring that interconnectedness, of not taking this cosmic support for granted. With sacrifice in ages gone before, the Lord of beings did his bounty pour on humankind. By this shall increase bloom. A wish-granting sacred cow shall pierce the gloom.
So what Krishna is saying here is that sacrifice was established at the very beginning.
As an integral part of creation.
And a means for prosperity and fulfilling desire.
Yes, righteous desire, which he describes in verse 3.11. The gods do nourish with thine offerings true, and may those gods thy lifeblood grant anew. Thus fostering care, in mutual might allied, the highest good shall unto thee betide.
So what's beautiful here is this idea that humans nourish the gods through their offerings and sacrifice.
And in return, the gods provide for humanity.
So there's this beautiful reciprocal relationship that leads to the highest good for all.
The gods, by sacrifice made well content, will grant the joys on which thy heart is bent. But he who takes their bounteous, gracious store, and offers naught in recompense therefor, a thief he is, in very truth indeed, ignoring duty whence all blessings proceed. It is a warning.
To those who would enjoy the gifts of the gods.
Without offering anything in return.
Yeah, without acknowledging this reciprocal relationship.
Yeah. This idea of offering our actions as a sacrifice, it seems to permeate all aspects of life, even something as seemingly mundane as eating. The Lord's pure devotees from sin are free. They eat what's offered in humility. But those who cook for sensual delight consume but sin in darkness and in night.
Yeah, this verse highlights the distinction between actions that are motivated by pure devotion and those that are driven by selfish desires. Krishna suggests that even the act of eating can be transformed into a spiritual practice. When we offer our food to the divine with a sense of gratitude and humility,
it's as if by offering our food first, we acknowledge the source of all sustenance. We express our appreciation for the abundance that we receive, and we purify our intentions before partaking.
Precisely. Every action, no matter how small, no matter how seemingly insignificant, can be infused with spiritual significance when performed with the right attitude. Conversely, even seemingly harmless actions, when they're driven by those selfish desires, can create negative karma and perpetuate the cycle of suffering.
From grains comes life, which rain in plenty brings, and rain descends when sacrifice upsprings. Yajna is of duty's order born, a cycle vast, since life's first early morn.
This verse beautifully illustrates that cyclical nature of life and the role of yajna in sustaining this cycle. So Krishna explains how grains, they're essential for life, they're produced by rain.
So it's like a cosmic dance where each element plays this vital role in maintaining the rhythm and flow of life.
And by participating in this dance, through acts of sacrifice, through selfless service, we contribute to the well-being of the whole.
This verse seems to connect the practice of yajna to this broader cosmic order, a divine plan that's been unfolding since the beginning of time. Regulated acts the Vedas do proclaim, and Vedas from the supreme source came. Thus all-pervading transcendence we find, eternally in deeds of sacrifice enshrined.
This verse connects the practical performance of yajna to the wisdom that's enshrined in the Vedas, the ancient scriptures of Hinduism. It suggests that the Vedas, which are considered to be a repository of divine knowledge, they prescribe those regulated actions, including the performance of yajna. And since the Vedas themselves emanate from that supreme source, it implies that the very act of selfless sacrifice is a reflection of the divine will.
It's a beautiful affirmation of the idea that by engaging in selfless action according to the principles that are outlined in these scriptures, we're actually aligning ourselves with this cosmic order. This connection to the divine seems to offer a sense of purpose and meaning to our actions, a way to transcend those limitations of our ego and tap into a deeper source of wisdom and inspiration.
Yes, and this brings us to a crucial point: the consequences of neglecting one's prescribed duties and indulging in a life of pure sense gratification.
The wheel thus turned, if any soul defy, and heed not wisdom's heaven-sent cry, that sinful wight, to base desires bound, in fruitless search his earthly life is drowned.
This verse carries a strong cautionary message. Krishna warns that those who disregard the Vedic injunctions to perform yajna and live solely for the satisfaction of their senses, they're bound to a life of sin and suffering. And now the focus shifts to the state of a self-realized soul,
Which he begins to describe in verse 3.17. But one who finds his joy within the self, whose life's pursuit transcends all worldly pelf, contented solely in the Spirit's grace, for such a soul no binding duty we can trace.
This verse introduces a nuance to the concept of duty. While Krishna has been emphasizing the importance of performing one's prescribed duty, here he makes an exception for those who have attained self-realization. These individuals, they have found their fulfillment and joy in the self. In the realization of their true nature, they are no longer bound by the karmic consequences of action or inaction.
It's as if they've transcended this duality of action and inaction, reaching a state of being where their actions flow spontaneously from a place of inner harmony.
And it's a reminder that the ultimate goal of karma yoga is not to become bound by rules and regulations. It's to cultivate a state of inner freedom and liberation where actions become an expression of our true nature. And the following verses provide further insights into the characteristics and actions of a self-realized soul.
No gain for him in virtuous acts well done, no loss ensues if duties are foregone. On no created thing doth he depend, his perfect joy doth from within ascend.
This verse beautifully depicts that inner state of a self-realized being. Free from desires and attachments, they have no need for personal gain or recognition. They act not out of a sense of obligation, but from a place of inner alignment with that cosmic order.
It's a state of being that many spiritual traditions aspire to, isn't it? A state of freedom from the limitations of the ego, where actions flow effortlessly from a place of inner peace and wisdom.
It's a state of being where the boundaries between self and other dissolve and actions become an expression of the divine will flowing through the individual.
And it seems that this state of being is not something that's achieved through passive withdrawal from the world, but through active engagement with the world, albeit with a transformed perspective.
Precisely. And this brings us back to the essence of karma yoga,
Which is verse 3.19.
Let's hear it.
Therefore, unbound, forever strive and strain to do those deeds whereby good men attain. For he who acts, devoid of selfish need, the supreme state shall surely give him heed. This verse encapsulates that core principle of karma yoga, acting without being attached to the outcome, performing actions as an offering to the divine, and allowing the fruits of those actions to unfold naturally.
And to illustrate this point, Krishna cites the example of King Janaka in the next verse, a legendary ruler renowned for his wisdom and spiritual attainment.
By action's path did Janaka ascend to perfect state, where light and wisdom blend, and even now, for sake of world's embrace, thy duty calls in this appointed space.
King Janaka's example highlights the ripple effect of such selfless leadership.
I imagine that the actions of such a leader would have a profound impact on the people they govern, setting a standard for righteous conduct and inspiring others to strive for a higher ideal.
Yes, and this idea of leading by example is further emphasized in the next verse.
Whate'er the course a noble soul doth wend, the common folk their imitative steps will bend. What standard he doth righteous deem and true, the wider world will diligently pursue.
Krishna points out that the actions of a spiritually evolved individual, those who embody the principles of karma yoga, inspire others to follow suit. Their way of being becomes a guiding light. It sets a standard for right action that others naturally aspire to emulate, because our example can have a profound impact on shaping the world we live in.
This brings to mind a quote often attributed to Gandhi: "Be the change you wish to see in the world." It seems that karma yoga provides a framework for embodying this principle, for becoming living examples of the qualities we wish to see reflected in the world.
And this brings us to a rather surprising statement from Krishna, considering his divine nature and cosmic role.
O Partha, naught for me remains to do in these three realms that meet the gazer's view. Not unattained that I should strive to gain, yet in my acts my purpose doth remain.
This verse raises a really thought-provoking question.
Hmm.
If Krishna is the supreme being, complete, lacking nothing, why does he engage in action at all?
It's as if he's suggesting that action itself is an inherent aspect of existence.
And it sets the stage for a deeper understanding of the motivations behind Krishna's actions, which he reveals in the following verse.
For should I cease from toil one fleeting day, O Partha, men would surely lose their way. They'd ape my still inaction's vacant guise, and these three realms in direst plight would rise.
Here, Krishna explains that his actions serve as an example for all beings. He recognizes that if he were to abandon his prescribed duties, it would send a message that action is unnecessary or unimportant, leading others astray and causing chaos in that cosmic order.
Utter ruin would these worlds o'ertake, in chaos wild and ruin surging tide, and beings all their proper roles cast wide, and dire confusion would all order quell, if I from ceaseless action bade farewell.
Krishna vividly describes that potential chaos that would ensue if he were to shirk his responsibilities. He speaks of worlds falling into decay, and this leads us to a crucial guideline for the wise on how to act in the world, as outlined in the next verse.
As those in ignorance hold firmly fast to works ill wrought, where selfish aims are cast, so should the wise, detached and spirit-free, act for the world's enduring stability.
This verse offers a crucial piece of guidance for those striving to live a life that's aligned with Dharma. Krishna acknowledges that while the ignorant are driven by the desire for rewards, the wise should act without being attached to the outcomes. And in verse 3.26, there's this caution to the wise.
Yes, about not confusing those who are less knowledgeable. Let not the sage, whose vision doth extend, the minds of those to clinging labor tend, confused with doubts, but acting justly still. Their hearts with gentle wisdom he should fill.
Krishna advises the wise not to forcefully impose their knowledge on those who are still attached to the fruits of their actions, as this could create resistance and confusion.
That true spiritual growth is a gradual process, and that forcing change on others is often counterproductive.
We're all at different stages of spiritual evolution, and the wise recognize this diversity and meet each individual with compassion and understanding. And this brings us to a fascinating exploration of the illusion of individual agency, as described in the next verse.
The spirit soul, bewildered by false ego's might, thinks I'm the doer in its darkened plight, while nature's modes, the threefold energies sway, in truth perform the deeds along life's way.
This verse delves into the nature of the ego and its role in obscuring our true understanding of action. Krishna points out that the individual soul, under the spell of that false ego, believes itself to be the sole doer of actions, failing to recognize the influence of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, which are constantly at play, shaping our thoughts, emotions, and actions. It's about finding that sweet spot between effort and surrender, between taking responsibility for our actions and acknowledging the role of grace in our lives.
And it seems that the next verse highlights the perspective of one who was seen through this illusion of individual agency. But those who know the absolute truth's domain, from sense and pleasure wisely do refrain. Discernment clear twixt selfless act and greed, they plant the seeds of virtue's noble creed.
Krishna suggests that individuals who have attained this higher understanding are no longer driven by that pursuit of sensory pleasure or material gain. And this shift in consciousness is reflected in their actions, which are no longer driven by personal desires, but by a deeper understanding of that cosmic order and their role within it. And now we come to these powerful verses about surrender.
On me cast all thy actions, grief and care, with spirit's wisdom everywhere to share. From longing free, from ego's binding chain, engage in war with courage to sustain.
Here, Krishna directly addresses Arjuna's predicament, offering him a way to reconcile his duty as a warrior with those principles of selfless action.
So he's saying that it's about fighting the battle, not out of some personal ambition or hatred, but as an act of service to this higher purpose.
Exactly. Recognizing that the outcome is ultimately in the hands of the divine.
This verse seems to offer a path to peace, even amidst conflict, a way to transcend that duality of good and evil and act from a place of higher awareness. I'm curious to see how this idea of surrender and faith is further explored in the next verse.
Okay, what does that say?
Those mortals who this sacred teaching heed, with faith, from envy's bitter arrows freed, by action's bonds they never shall be tied, salvation's gate shall open to their stride. It suggests that when we trust in a power greater than ourselves, when we surrender our ego's need for control, We open ourselves to a deeper level of wisdom and guidance.
And it's about cultivating a state of inner purity and devotion, which then naturally manifests in selfless actions and a life aligned with Dharma. This inner purity is reflected in the absence of envy, a quality that often arises from a sense of lack or insecurity.
And it seems that the following verse offers a contrasting perspective, highlighting the consequences of clinging to our ego's need for control and rejecting that path of surrender.
In verse 3.32,
But those who scorn this word that I impart, and in their souls find no responsive heart, know them as lost, in darkened error steeped. From wisdom's grace forever they are reaped. This verse serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of humility in the spiritual journey. It suggests that clinging to our ego's limited perspective can prevent us from accessing a deeper level of wisdom and understanding.
it highlights the importance of recognizing that there's always more to learn and that clinging to our limited perspectives can hinder our progress on the path towards enlightenment.
It seems that this verse is a call to open our hearts and minds to a wisdom that transcends our limited human understanding, to cultivate a willingness to surrender to a higher power and trust in the unfolding of a greater plan.
Absolutely. And this brings us to an interesting exploration of the influence of our inherent nature on our actions, even for those who possess knowledge.
As nature's impulse holds its sovereign sway, does even knowledge point and lead the way? All beings follow where their natures call. What can near stern restraint accomplish all?
Past karmic impressions on our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Even a wise sage, Krishna suggests, is not entirely immune to these influences.
It's a reminder that true transformation is a gradual process, and that while we can strive to purify our intentions and align ourselves with Dharma, our inherent tendencies will continue to surface and shape our experiences. This perspective seems to offer a more compassionate approach to self-transformation, acknowledging our imperfections while also empowering us to make choices that align with our highest aspirations.
That true spirituality is not about achieving a state of perfect purity, but about embracing the messy and complex journey of human evolution.
And it seems that the next verse offers guidance on navigating the forces of attraction and aversion that inevitably arise in our interactions with the world. For every sense, its object brings both liking and disliking stings. Yield not to these, their power restrain, for they are foes and cause you pain.
Krishna points out that we are constantly encountering objects and experiences that trigger feelings of liking or disliking.
And these opposing forces can create so much inner turmoil and distract us from our true purpose.
It's about training the mind to become a witness to these fluctuations of liking and disliking rather than becoming entangled in them. And this detachment allows us to make choices that are aligned with our highest good rather than being driven by impulsive desires or aversions.
This seems like a very challenging practice, but also a very liberating one. It suggests that true freedom comes not from indulging in every desire or avoiding every discomfort, but from finding a place of inner peace and equanimity amidst the fluctuations of life.
And this inner peace and equanimity is cultivated through the practice of karma yoga, through the dedication of our actions to a higher purpose, through the surrender of the ego's need for control, and through the cultivation of a deep and abiding faith in the divine. And it ties in beautifully with the next verse, which presents a thought-provoking principle regarding the importance of fulfilling one's own dharma, even if imperfectly.
Better your own task poorly wrought than alien duty finely brought. In one's own dharma, death is sweet. Another's path, great fears you'll meet.
Krishna suggests that it's better to strive to fulfill our own dharma, our own inherent purpose and duty, even if we make mistakes along the way, than to try to imitate others or follow a path that is not aligned with our true nature.
This resonates with the idea of finding our own unique purpose in life and embracing our individuality rather than trying to fit into predefined molds.
It's a reminder that comparing ourselves to others is often futile, as each individual has their own unique set of talents, challenges, and karmic predispositions.
This leads us to a very pointed question from Arjuna in the next verse, delving into the nature of compulsion and the forces that drive us towards unrighteous actions. Arjuna then inquired once more, by what impelled to sin's dark door does man proceed, O Varshniya, against his will as forced to stray?
Why do we sometimes find ourselves doing things we know are wrong, even when we don't want to? What is that force behind this compulsion?
I think that's a question many of us have grappled with at some point in our lives. We've all experienced those moments where we feel driven by impulses or desires that we later regret.
And Krishna's response in the following verse offers a profound insight into the nature of this driving force.
The blessed Lord did then impart, it is desire within the heart, It is fierce wrath of passion born, a fire that leaves the spirit torn, all-consuming, sinful, vast. Know this is foe whose die is cast.
Krishna is highlighting that destructive nature of uncontrolled desire and its potential to lead us down a path of darkness and pain. And this is further elaborated in verse 3.38.
As smoke obscures the blazing fire, as dust will dim the mirror's choir, as womb enshrouds the infant's form, so desire hides wisdom's norm.
So just as smoke obscures fire, dust covers a mirror.
Desire clouds our wisdom.
It prevents us from seeing clearly.
And it's so persistent.
And it's insidious.
As verse 3.39 highlights.
Yeah, let's hear that.
By this constant foe, wisdom's light is veiled, O son of Kunti bright, as insatiable desire burns. Against the wise, its malice turns.
So desire even affects the wise.
It can cloud even the most discerning mind. This analogy speaks to the way that uncontrolled desire can leave us feeling empty and unfulfilled, no matter how much we try to satisfy it.
It's a reminder that true happiness and fulfillment cannot be found in the pursuit of external gratification, but rather in the cultivation of inner peace and contentment.
So the key is to shift our focus from chasing fleeting pleasures to cultivating a sense of inner peace and fulfillment.
And now Krishna identifies the dwelling place
Of this desire.
in verse 3.40. Let's hear it.
The senses, mind, and intellect are said to be its chosen sect. Through these, it clouds the embodied soul and steals the wisdom, makes it whole.
The senses are constantly bombarded by external stimuli. The mind processes these stimuli and generates thoughts and desires.
And the intelligence, which could help us discern right from wrong, can become compromised.
We lose our ability to make sound judgments and act in accordance with our higher purpose.
So it's essential to develop a strong and discerning intelligence that can help us navigate the challenges of life and make choices that are aligned with our true nature.
Absolutely. And in the next verse, Krishna offers a direct instruction on how to overcome this all-consuming force.
Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bhartas, noblest son, first rein your senses one by one, and slay this sin so dark and deep that knowledge and discernment sweep. This verse emphasizes the importance of self-discipline and mindful engagement with the world as a means to free ourselves from the grip of our lower desires.
Yes, and in the next verse, Krishna outlines a hierarchy of inner faculties, culminating in the soul, which transcends the limitations of the lower nature.
The senses, they are called supreme. The mind excels their fleeting dream. The intellect is higher still, and higher yet, the self's pure will.
Krishna presents a map of our inner landscape, outlining a hierarchy of faculties that govern our experience. He starts with the senses, then the mind, followed by the intelligence, and ultimately the soul, which represents our true divine nature. And this understanding is crucial for achieving self-mastery and liberation.
So it's about shifting our identification from the limited ego self to the unlimited soul self.
And as we make this shift, our actions begin to flow from a place of inner wisdom and clarity rather than from the dictates of our lower nature. And the final verse in this section, verse 3.43, gives us that final instruction.
Thus, knowing him beyond compare, who reigns supreme with watchful care, subdue the mind by inner might, and slay desire with all your light. That stubborn foe so hard to tame, O mighty armed, achieve your aim.
Krishna reminds us that we are not merely our bodies, minds, or senses, but eternal souls connected to the divine.
This concluding verse offers a profound message of hope and empowerment. It suggests that we have the power within us to overcome our limitations and achieve true liberation. It's been a truly enlightening journey exploring the principles of karma yoga as outlined in this chapter. We've seen how this path of selfless action offers a way to live in the world without becoming entangled in the web of our desires and attachments.
It's a timeless teaching that continues to offer guidance and inspiration for those seeking to live a life of purpose and fulfillment.
We encourage you to explore the Bhagavad Gita further and to discover its profound wisdom and practical guidance for navigating the complexities of human existence. We look forward to sharing more profound insights from the Bhagavad Gita with you in our future episodes.
And this brings us to the end
of this particular exploration
into the wisdom of karma yoga. We encourage you to reflect
on these verses
and what they mean. We also invite you
to subscribe, and we look forward to having you join us again for our next exploration.